Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you all are doing well, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of The Fragrance Well. Today, we are talking about blind buys. Guys, it's inevitable, man. When you first start collecting, you're gonna make some blind buys because, hey, you're excited about seeing what's out there. There's a lot of recommendations in the community. There's recommendations on people's channels. They're cheap. You didn't even know fragrances could come this cheap. So, hey, blind buys are going to be a part of the collecting process. And, that's not a terrible thing, but frankly, the best way is always to try to get your nose on it. But let's just be honest, some people just don't have that luxury. You live in a place where they don't have even some of the most basic offerings. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to either A, sample, or hey, if you know what you think you might like, you just make a blind buy purchase and hopefully it works out. Well, today I'm going to talk about some blind buys that definitely worked out for me. Some of these are going to be fragrances that I purchased kind of in the beginning of my collecting journey that I did like. Some of them were highly recommended, and also, because they were cheap, they were very attractive at the time. And some of these are just ones that we don't have the ability to sample because they're just not widely available in the US. And I just pulled the trigger on them and hey, they worked out. So we're gonna talk about some of those right now. All right, let's go ahead and start getting through the list, man. There's 7 of them here, and the first one up is gonna be coming from the house of Christian Dior, and this is Fahrenheit Le Parfum, or just Parfum. I think it's just Parfum. Beautiful fragrance, man. Lavender, pink pepper, mandarin orange, lemon, leather, violet leaf, bourbon, vanilla absolute, benzoin, birch, amber, gaiac wood, patchouli, cedarwood, and vetiver. So this is, if you've heard anything about it, people pretty much call it the modern take on the Fahrenheit, the classic EDT from Christian Dior, just the original Fahrenheit, which was released in, I think, 1988, which was 1 year before I was born. My dad had this fragrance, he wore it. So that's why I have kind of a love for it. It just brings back older memories. So I'm a big fan of the original Dior Fahrenheit. I do have a bottle of it, but I heard a lot about this one, how it's just kind of a slightly sweeter, a little bit boozier, more modern take on that original Fahrenheit DNA. I actually am a big fan of that kind of gasoline vibe you get from the original Fahrenheit, but this one kind of turns that down. And I gotta be honest, it works great. As soon as I smelled this when I got it in, I was absolutely blown away. I'm like, this is a stunning fragrance. It's a shame it's not more widely available in the US, but this turned out to be a great blind buy, and I'm glad I have it in my collection. If you're looking for this one, I used to see it more readily available on discounters. It's not so much there anymore. It kind of just comes and goes, and when it comes, people definitely buy it up. So if you see it, I would say go, and you're definitely interested in getting it, go ahead and pull the trigger if you see it available. But, it's a good fragrance. If you're not a fan of that Fahrenheit DNA, it might not be the best safe blind buy for you, but I will say this is definitely much easier to wear than that original Fahrenheit because it turns down that gasoline style violet leaf that's in there. So check it out if you haven't. If you want to, this is Fahrenheit Parfum from Christian Dior. Okay, next one we are talking about is going to be coming from the house of Rochas. Rochas. I'm not really sure how to say that. I think it's Rochas. And this is going to be the release from 2020. This is L'Homme. Rochas L'Homme. Blood orange, cardamom, pineapple, basil, geranium, juniper berry, tonka bean, moss, and patchouli. If you've heard anything about this one smells very similar to Dolce & Gabbana's K, the K EDT and the EDP, so it's kind of in that similar style. I know the EDT is not very popular in the community. I'm on that bandwagon. I do not like it very much. I do think the EDP is better, but I still just don't think it's a scent DNA that warrants me wanting to pay for it. However, I got this one in, of course, like I said, it was a blind buy because it's not one you just readily see at any store or anything like that. And knowing what I know about the Dolce & Gabbana K and comparing it to this one, I do think this does that scent DNA style better. For whatever reason, they figured it out a little bit better with this one, in my opinion. This one can be classified as kind of a fresh, spicy scent, a little bit aromatic. Very nice touch with the juniper berry in it. Like I said, there's some spice from the cardamom in the opening. You get a little bit of that pineapple. It's not a very realistic smelling pineapple, but it is a nice touch. This scent here is just gonna be a very nice, pleasant, easygoing wear. No one's gonna be offended by this. It smells great. It might even pull some compliments. I haven't tested that theory very heavily because I haven't worn it but maybe a couple of times. But when I have worn it, I've enjoyed it. It's an easy wear. It smells very pleasant. Performance is not insane, but you know, it'll get the job done. I think it's a solid blind buy. It doesn't cost that much, or at least it didn't when I got it. I'm not sure what it's going for now, but inexpensive, great smelling fragrance you can't miss, right? So check it out if you haven't. This is Rochas L'Homme. Okay, next up, I'm gonna talk about one that was one of the first purchases I made when I started collecting. So naturally, this is one of the ones that was very heavily recommended as a great cheap option to get you started with your collection. And I wasn't blown away by it at first, but I definitely have grown to love it. This is gonna be from the house of Lalique. This is Encre Noire Sport. I am sure if you are new to collecting, you've definitely heard about this one. Grapefruit, cypress, bergamot, lavender, bourbon vetiver, Haitian vetiver, aquatic notes, nutmeg, cashmere wood, and musk. Obviously, like the name implies, it is a fresh scent because it has the name sport in it. Sport fragrances tend to be a fresher take on something. So I can tell you, I'm a big fan of the entire Encre Noire line. Turns out I am a vetiver guy. I love vetiver. This first time I smelled this, you know, this was kind of my introduction into what vetiver could be. And I would say this is a good one if you're gonna check out what vetiver might be like from an Encre Noire style fragrance. This is a good one to check out. It's gonna be the easiest wear. It's gonna be a much fresher take. But you know, Encre Noire is known for being a very dark, earthy, rooty, almost muddy even take on vetiver. Very heavy, grassy, very green. Definitely not for everyone. The reason it's touted so much in the community is because of what you can pay for it. You know, you can get it for like 25 bucks. Or something like that. I think that's what it's going for about now. It might have gone up a little bit because everything has, but you're paying for a very high quality fragrance and it comes with a very low price tag. It's just done so well, and it's just like you can't believe that you're getting something for that price. The Al Extreme is great too. It ramps up the sweetness of it, kind of makes it more of a night out kind of fragrance, if you will. To me, this is actually my go-to gym scent. If I'm gonna go to the gym and I wanna wear a sport fragrance, then this is usually the first one I gravitate towards. So I think this is a really good blind buy. Not necessarily a safe blind buy, but a good blind buy to check out what vetiver is about. And if you don't like it, you know, hey, you didn't pay a whole lot of money for it. So once again, this is Encre Noire Sport from Lalique. All right, so the next one's gonna be coming from the house of Prada. And Prada, what are you doing? Why are you taking away great scents from us in Americas that love to wear stuff that's just not the average everyday thing that most people wear in the States? It is what it is. They can do what they want. They care about the money, nothing else. Anyway, this is Prada L'Homme Intense. Certainly you've heard about this one if you've been in the community. This one features iris, tonka bean, patchouli, and amber. Yeah. So this one I consider kind of a quasi blind buy because you can still readily find the original Prada L'Homme in stores, you know, pretty easily. You can certainly get it if you don't have a store that has it. You can certainly get it very easily. It's still sold in the States. Who knows for how much longer, but it is still here. And if you hear people describe this one, they say it's like that soapy iris, but it's just ramped up with a little bit more sweetness, made a little bit darker, a little bit more mysterious, a little bit sexier, a little bit more for, you know, like a night out. And they did not disappoint on the descriptions, because when I smelled this, I was like, yep, it's all that and more. To me, I get a little bit kind of a leathery accord in this. It's not a listed note, it's not a listed accord. The note breakdowns don't always have everything that's in the fragrance, obviously. But, you know, I think that's just part of what makes it last a little bit longer, have that bit more of a push off the skin, a little bit deeper, make it a little bit more mysterious. This one's a great performer, great projector. You can still find it every now and then pop up on discounters. Usually when they do, that's maybe because they have 1 or 2 bottles. It's unfortunate that, you know, it's not as widely available as it was when it first got discontinued. When it did get discontinued, I kind of jumped on it. When it popped up at a discounter, I just went ahead and grabbed it. So this was a great blind buy for me. I love wearing it. And once again, this is Prada L'Homme Intense. Okay, next one up on the list. This one's gonna come from the house of Bentley. Bentley is probably a house that for most people, it's gonna be a blind buy anyway, because you don't really see these in stores. Ironically, I see a lot of retailers do sell Bentley fragrances, but none of them have them ready for you to smell in a store or sample or anything like that. Or at least I haven't run across any of them. The first Bentley fragrance I actually blind bought was for Men Intense because, again, that's another one that as soon as you get into the community, you're gonna hear about as a cheap option that is super high quality and one to just kind of get your hands on because it's a great buy. However, Bentley for Men Intense is anything but a safe blind buy. It is not for everyone. I happen to love it as soon as I got it, so naturally I wanted to check out some of the other Bentley fragrances. This one also I would not consider a safe blind buy, but I do think it is a very quality fragrance that you can get for a good price. This is Bentley for Men Absolute. Bentley for Men Absolute. This one features frankincense, pink pepper, ginger, Atlas cedar, papyrus, sandalwood, amber, oud, and moss. This one here is woody and smoky. I get kind of almost like a Dr. Pepper kind of vibe off the atomizer. I notice I don't get that as much when I spray it on my skin, but it does have a kind of a dark, spicy, almost cola type vibe to it in my opinion. Very masculine scent here. This one definitely screams, hey, I am a masculine man. I got a little bit of funk on me, but I'm also elegant and dressed up and ready to do what I need to do. This one screams that to me. It's kind of in that old school traditional masculine scent style. So, that's not for everyone. So I would say, this one might appeal more to guys that are a little bit older. Young guys, you would like this stuff if you just happen to be a fan of scents that are kind of done to cater to people that might be older. Can't deny the great price point on this one. It's a bit of a fingerprint magnet with this dark bottle and the lights on it, but hey, great blind buy. I'm glad I have it in my collection. Check it out if you want to. This is Bentley for Men Absolute. All right, so the next one on the list is another one from the house of Rochas, and this is going to be probably the most popular blind buy option from this house, and this is Rochas Mustache Eau de Parfum. Mandarin orange, pink pepper, Atlas cedar, Bulgarian rose, benzoin, and patchouli. The thing you're definitely gonna hear about this one, if you haven't already, is this is basically a clone of Yves Saint Laurent's Tuxedo. I have had the ability to smell Tuxedo. I don't own it yet. I plan on picking it up. But I've had the chance to smell it, and Mustache got it pretty doggone close. Little bit of spice with this one, very sweet and kind of resinous. It's an awesome scent. Tuxedo is famous for a reason, and this one is equally as famous for a reason because, hey, you get it for a fraction of the price. Perfect for a good night out. Might be a nice daytime scent. I love it so much, I wouldn't even mind wearing it casually. Probably works a little bit at its best and when it's a little bit cooler out, so might come off a little too sweet in the hot, but hey, wear it when you want to. Easily one of the best blind buys in my collection just because, hey, it's a great quality scent that I didn't pay a lot of money for, and I get to experience a scent DNA like YSL Tuxedo without having to pay a lot of money for it, even though I was able to sample it, but that was actually out of town, so I couldn't sample it here where I live. Check it out if you haven't. This is Mustache Eau de Parfum. Okay, and last on the list, last but certainly not least, I have to call this one my favorite blind buy out of this particular list that I put together, simply because it's the one I have definitely worn the most. This is going to be coming from the house of Nishane, and this is Hacivat. Nishane Hacivat, grapefruit, pineapple, bergamot, cedarwood, patchouli, jasmine, oak moss, woody notes, and clearwood. If you've heard anything about this one, which is very likely that you have, it's compared to Creed's Aventus. To me, this scent is superior to Creed's Aventus. Not to say Aventus isn't good, not to say that it's not a scent that I adore, but I just think this one has higher quality, comes off as a higher quality than Creed Aventus does. I also like what this one does with that style of scent a little bit better than I like what Aventus does. One of the things I think you definitely notice about Hacivat that's different from Creed Aventus is the main thing is the oak moss and the dry down. When this dries down, it becomes very heavy with the oak moss accord, which is probably the thing that turns most people off to it. So if you're not a fan of like oak moss in general, this might not be a good blind buy for you, or just a good buy in general. But what I love about it is how the pineapple and the citruses come across in the opening compared to how they do in Aventus. It's much fruitier, much fresher off the top, where Aventus kind of has that smokiness from the birchwood. You definitely hear about this one being a great performer longevity wise, and it is. It's also an extrait de parfum, so it's very strong. You don't have to douse yourself too many times with sprays with this. If you do, in my experience, you just end up going nose blind to it. Absolutely love wearing this one. I've worn it a couple of times since it's cooled down a bit, but definitely wore it heavily when it was hot in the summertime. We had a very hot summer here last year in Florida. Performs great in the humidity. Obviously, we got plenty of that here too. And one of the great things about Nishane in general is generally they're marked off quite heavily on discounters. I think I got this for around $100, which is pretty good. I don't know what the 50 ml goes for like at retail or on the website, but I know the 100 ml bottles, they're upwards of $300+ at full retail. So the fact that you can get a 50 ml and even 100 ml for less than $200, which is over $100 off, is pretty insane. Great house to check out, very unique. Like I said, not for everyone. Not too many of these are gonna be 100% safe blind buys, but I would say Hacivat is probably one of the safer ones. So check it out if you want to. This is Nishane's Hacivat once again. Okay guys, that's gonna do it for this video. That was 7 blind buys that really worked out well for me. Hey, let's keep the conversation going. Let me know down in the comments below, do you think these are great blind buys? What's something that you bought that really worked out for you that you honestly didn't know if it was gonna work out because it was a blind buy, right? That's the whole point. I'm gonna thank you for sticking around for this entire video, and I hope to see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a great day.